St. Mary's Orthodox Cathedral, Puthencavu. St. Mary's Orthodox Cathedral, Puthencavu is one of the important churches in South India. The church is one of the oldest Christian churches in Central Travancore region of Kerala. History. The people of Puthencavu depended on the old Suryani church in Chengannur or the church in Mariman before the establishment of this church. Due to the distance to the nearest church, Christians in the area decided to construct a church in Puthencavu itself. The Christians of Puthencavu decided to approach the Marthoma VI. During that time, the Travancore Maharaja had penalized the Marthoma VI per the request of the Dutch for the delayed payments of expenses in bringing the bishops, Mar Basilius Malprina, Mar Gregorios, and Johannanen Ramban from Shima during the times of Marthoma V. The Travancore government confiscated the metropolitan bishops' items and the goods and movable properties of. It is believed that this church bell from Naranam Church is that which hangs even today on the east fort gate of Padmanabhaswamy Temple in Thiruvananthapuram. It is legendally believed that the Tharacans and the Christians in Puthencavu saved the arrest of the metropolitan bishop by giving the money which was gathered for the construction of the church. The excess money after settling this was believed to be source of Vatipanan later. Soon after becoming the Metropolitan, Marthoma Roman VII continued to discuss with Colonel Macaulay, the British resident, and the church decided to deposit as loan in perpetuity a sum of 3,000 puvarhan. A puvarhan, known as Star Pagoda, had a market value Rs. 10,300. The deposit was handed over to Colonel Macaulay on 1 December 1808 and he issued the receipt. The agreement stipulated that interest should be paid to the Malankara Metropolitan. This deposit is now known as Vatipanan. Later, when there were more than one metropolitans in Malankara Church, it became necessary to decide the rightful authority to receive the interest. So the government convened meetings with the church leaders and according to their decision issued proclamations authorizing that person to be the metropolitan to receive the interest. This resulted in several court cases for several years till 1958. The church was consecrated in the name of Saint Mary in 1793 Malayalam year 969 Virishchikam 19 by Marthoma VI. The church still preserves, even today, the room, bed, and chapel of First Holy Kurbana conducted by Marthoma VI. Marthoma VI stayed in Puthencavu from 1794 to 1808, due to which the place became the center of Suryani Christians of Puthencore of the Malankara Church. The remains of Marthoma VI, Marthoma Roman VIII, and G. Varghese Marphilixinos, the famous Puthencavu Kachu Tharumani who led the Malankara Sabha, are interred in this church. Arakuzhil Abraham Kathanar Sr., youngest son of Arakuzhil Idicula Tharakan Sr., was the first vicar of this church in 1793 and was ordained by Marthoma VI. Thomas Kishikethalakal, the father of Marphilixinos Tharumani, Arakuzhil Abraham Kathanar Jr., etc., served long years as the vicars of this church. Thomas Mar Athanasius, current Metropolitan of Chengannur Diocese and nephew of Puthencavu Kachatharumani, Reverend C. and Philippos Cor Episcopa, are members of this church. The body of Arakuzhil Abraham Kathanar Sr. was buried inside the church. During the times of Abraham Kathanar Sr., Puthencavu Church was the center of Puthencore section of the Malankara Church. Arakuzhil Chandi Kathanar, youngest son of Abraham Kathanar Sr., followed the vicarship of the church after his father. Chandi Kathanar was ordinated to priesthood by Marthoma Roman VIII. Chandi Kathanar's youngest son, Abraham Kathanar Jr. 1818–1901, who was raised to priesthood by Chepet Philippos Mardinisius, became the vicar of the church later. As the vicar of the participating church, Abraham Kathanar Jr. co-signed the famous Mavlakara Padiola 1836 and Kalamkathra Padiola 1843. Joseph Kathanar 1863–1947, son of Abraham Kathanar Jr., was the assistant vicar of the church. The body of Arakuzhil Abraham Kathanar Jr. was also buried inside the church, even though he had moved as vicar of Puthencavu Marthoma Church upon the formation of Marthoma Sabha. On 9 December 1896, Reverend P. J. Dethos was consecrated as Titus Roman II Martoma Metropolitan at the Puthencavu Pali. He was consecrated by Titus I Martoma with the assistance of Gevargis Mar Korlos Karumam Kaji Pilakato, Metropolitan of the Malabar Independent Syrian Church. Two perennials church festivals of Mar Anthraeus, the 17th-century Syrian saint, who was buried at Kaloda, and Gevargis Mar Philoxenos are celebrated in this church yearly. The wooden horse of Mar Anthraeus is still preserved in the church. There are a lot of folk tales, stories around this horse on which the Anthraeus Bava used to travel at night. The church is also the parent parish of several parishes within and around of the same diocese, which includes Alappuzha, Kurichamatam, Pirilasari, Milakaja, Korthamala, Nelakal, Idanadu, and Mangalam.